Hey y'all, so I was thinking about how we all talked about our role in being accountable and being present for the opposite sex. And I think it's really important to also, for us to be really clear on how we want to be celebrated and how we want other people of the opposite sex to engage with us. So it's not like, as a woman, I'm doing all the things that as a man, you said, like, I don't even know like why she's doing this or what. What I really wanted was cheese, and she got me a soda, and how did we end up here? So I think it'll be good for us to all talk about how we want to be celebrated by the opposite sex. I can start. One, I'm not really good at this, but physical touch and hugs and like just deep hugs when you like exhale out from guys. Like it's weird for me because like I don't really hug like that. Like if I do, it's like I want somebody else to say like, I think you would enjoy a hug right now. Not like, I mean, I enjoy a hug, so let me be the catalyst. But that is almost symbolic of being supported and held and affirmed by a man. And I want men to be able to be more intimate and vulnerable with me in a way that is not heavy or work. Like, it's actually pleasant and enjoyable. And so those two things is really a celebration for me, and it will really physically feel good and mentally feel good too. And that person, you know, consistency is key. Like, you know, they don't have to do it every day, but, you know, I was just thinking about you today, and give me a hug. I'm gonna be like, oh my God, thanks. That's what I'm thinking right now. What about anybody else?
Some ways that I want to be, you know, like celebrated by the opposite sex. I think one of them that's really powerful for me is active listening. I talk a lot, not necessarily to be heard, but because there's been a lot of times where I felt like I was silenced. And I recognize that in other people as well. So part of active listening is just listening, not to be heard, not listening to not to like give a response, but listening just because, you know, the person is to be heard, and giving them that, asking, you know, being able to be reciprocal about asking what does that person need in that moment. Because I found myself on the other end. Like if someone's asking for help, I'll try to figure out a solution. Especially with women, I'm like, you know, if you're having trouble with a dude, like, fuck it, let's go beat him up. But that's not, you know, that's not what she wants. You know what I mean? But like that's when instead I need to be.
Like, no.
Exactly. So many situations like that where it's like instead of like trying to find a solution when the biggest solution is to just be there. That's why a lot of people are reaching out, and that's what I want. You know what I mean? Like as much as other people ask that of me, I want that of others. It's like if I'm venting, if I'm going through something, and I express that, I trust that in you, because I don't like talking to people like that. Like I love talking, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going through, because that's family business. You know what I mean? You got to keep it in house. And so when I trust you with my family issues, with my bullshit, you know, you gotta, it's a responsibility that comes with that. And on top of the active listening, I've been learning a lot with my relationship because like we're distant and, you know, COVID and all that distant stuff. So it's been a lot of, like at first I wanted to be physically touched, you know what I mean? Like everybody want to be physically touched. And it was like, and now I'm thinking about like, what does physical touch mean to me? Like not just like having sex, but like also like having somebody to hug or having, you know, like when we get that opportunity, definitely. I think I'm deserving of being showered in that. So, you know, shower me just by the way I shower you. If you see me lacking, come talk. I'm fighting to be open to conversation. I want you to fight to be open to conversation as well too, and that takes an active fight against your own ego. And that's what I think. Active listening and be open to talk.
I feel like it's interesting because it's also like we're framing these in terms of love languages. Yeah, but I would say for my love language is definitely one of them is words of affirmation. And the way that I'm learning to practice my own self-love is through words of affirmation. And I feel like Black women are like my biggest cheerleaders when it comes to words of affirmation. I would love for more men to step up with words of affirmation, particularly like not around complimenting my body or my appearance or like the way that I look, but really like, you know, being like, you know what, you're hella dope, or like, I love listening to you talk because of the way that you conceptualize things, like, or, you know, just congratulate me on an accolade or something like that. I think I oftentimes feel like my female friends are showing up for me that way and really affirming me and pushing me. And I am like, where y'all at? To some of my male best friends, I'm like, where y'all at? So I would love to just have more words of affirmation shared.
For sure. I think, you know, credence to the love languages for sure. And also just piggybacking off of what you were talking about, I think for me, when I think about the word celebration, I oftentimes just focus on redefining words for myself because I realize that's oftentimes where I fail out the gate is just having a different definition of words. So losing conversation from the start. But the way I define it, I think I pay attention to, or paying witness. I think a lot of people would just like to have somebody witness their life, and for me that translates to being seen and heard. And being heard, I think, resonates in different ways for different people. But for me, I don't always have the words to say what I want. And what I also learned is that what I want changes. And for the longest, as a man, I've been, focused on setting a truth or a task or a target, and then never wavering from that. And so I would hold myself accountable to things that I said years ago, even if it didn't serve me. Much less recognizing that, okay, a truth can change within a couple minutes or a week. And so all of that, just understanding how truth is different for people and what that means is different, has helped me redefine things and what it means to actually be seen. And so I don't like planning my birthdays anymore because what I want now may not be what I want 3 months from now, and being okay with that. But being heard and seen is truly a celebration of what I feel and what I want. And so being able to see the things that I don't necessarily see that I want, but do need them, to your point, and being in tune with me to be able to say, hey, I'm going to fix you your favorite meal, or I'm going to be there to stand with you and proclaim justice for Black men, or whatever that looks like. But just being able to be in tune with somebody enough to understand that just because they say they want something doesn't mean that's actually what they want.
For me, I think the biggest thing is for me to be celebrated as me, and not as someone's idea of me, or not as a public perception of me, or through all these different kind of filters. I just want to be loved on, adored, and cared for as a being, as this is just me, whatever that is. I feel most celebrated when people allow me to be nothing with them. Like, I don't have to be anything. I don't have to, like, oh my gosh, you want something to eat? You want me to cook? You want me to do? Like, we just sit there in silence, or watching a show and not having to feel in silence, or just understanding that me being here is like me showing that, is me showing up. And I feel from the opposite sex, I want to be seen as just a regular human being. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to be resilient. I don't want to be resourceful. I don't want to be like this magical Black woman in your head, or like this idea of like, oh, I check off all these boxes, so now I'm deserving of celebration, affection, love, respect. I just want to be loved through all the love languages as myself, as just a regular human being just like you, that eats, that breathes, that feels, that loves, that cares, that can be distant, that can be angry, and not having any of those aspects take me out of the box that is deserving of love, celebration, or joy.
I like that. I agree in almost every aspect of the word. I don't know what my love language is, so I'm not gonna tell you what my love language is because you don't really need to know that anyway. But what I will say,
Right.
hey, none your business. No, but no. But what I will say though is like I would like to be loved without expectations, and I think that's something that exactly what you were talking about. And I think another thing is I need for you to like show me is like you take care of yourself. A lot of times we want to, like, I've tried taking care of people try to take care of me. Take care of yourself. Because a lot of the times, you know what you need more than me. So if there's ever an error in the way that I'm loving you, you can tell me how to love you correctly. Mm-hmm. And that's a form of communication for me. I need you to be able to know yourself well enough so that I don't need to do anything extra to make you feel special because you're so whole in yourself. And I think we be kind of searching for somebody to complete us and give us what we want, but you can give it to yourself first. So I need you to love yourself first, kind of understand yourself, understand what your love language is, what your attachment theories, tell me what your problems are, so that we can kind of get to that level to where I can understand you emotionally, and if there's ever an issue that I'm lacking or I'm slacking, you could tell me how to fix that. So I think that's what it is. And then the whole expectation thing is like we got to stop going into situations thinking that somebody can change, or we can change somebody, we can heal somebody's trauma, stop with the trauma bonding. I can't do that anymore. I understand that's something that we do a lot. We got to stop doing that. That's how you take care of yourself. So take care of yourself. That means that you love yourself enough that you can love me, because you can't love me without loving yourself. And we good.
Something else that I really want, and then something that's like also interesting. So like, well, one, you said trauma bonding, and I automatically thought that, again, I like so severely feel like because I'm not open, because I don't say like, ouch, that hurts, or whatever, like the world literally just, it's relentless. So sometimes, and my therapist was like, you millennials and how you guys compete with trauma or whatever. And like, that's nothing that I like try to do. If anything, it's like me trying not to do that based on me not bringing things out the house. But I almost feel like if I don't, like, people just rip me to shreds. And I don't know, it's like I'm damned if I do, damned if I almost feel like I have to be like, yo, like, I'm also not okay. Like, I have everything going on, and I'm still showing up being my best. And back to like my mom and the triggering when like, I still feel critiqued and all these things when there's so many things I don't say. And this happens a lot with men, especially with men, because there's so many little things that I'll do. Like, I listen, it's like, this person wants that, this person wants that, and I'm, present, or even for my community, or like I've jumped out the window so many times where I just felt like this isn't right, this isn't helping my community. I've quit jobs, I've been broke, I've been like, this doesn't feel good. I've stepped up in places where like, yo, I couldn't, but I did. Like, I've given, like, to this day, if I go out, I'm giving every vendor I know X amount of dollars. Like, I don't want to buy anything, but like, I can't afford it, but can I just give you $10? Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally, like, when I wake up in the morning, it's for everybody else. And so, again, like, if I don't say anything, people are the roughest with me. People tend to be very abrasive with me, especially men. And then what I would like in terms of celebration is like acknowledgement of like, yo, like, you did a lot. You probably going through a lot. You probably, you know what I mean? Like, those things are so, and people are very quick to judge you before they're like, anything else. But people don't have to tell me for me to be present.
Yeah. Empathy.
I think that's a trauma bond. I think a trauma bond is like, I've been through this trauma. Oh, me too. Let's be in this trauma together. I don't think it's trauma bonding to say like, these are the things that I've been through, and this is why I need you to show up this way, and this is why I'm showing up this way. So I don't think that you are engaging in a trauma bond with someone by saying like, this is what I've gone through and this is why I'm this way today. I think it would more so be like, here's all my trauma that I've been through. And the other person's like, oh, wow, here's all the trauma I've been through. And y'all just kind of sit in that together. So I think it's a little bit of a difference.
I don't want to do either, though. Like, I don't want to have to say anything about anything that I'm going through because that is not natural to me. Like, and that's okay. Like, I almost feel like I have to because if I don't, like...
It's a form of intimacy is what it is, and it's like you...
No, it's not intimacy. It's me protecting myself because if not, people are going to judge me and they're going to critique me and they're going to put more weight on me, or they're not going to care when I'm like, yo, if I say I'm tired today, like I really, or like I need this or I need help, like they're going to be like, it's not that big of a deal. Or if I'm like, I'm not, like it's just, or like I'll do something and people, it's just so unappreciated, and then I'm so beat down because of it. And it's just nice for the opposite sex to, acknowledge that. Even like I have a best friend, like I used to call him all the time, right? Like, and he had mentioned like, yo, sis, not 5 times a day, just, like once a week. Like he communicated that like years ago. Like, but I've told him since I was 15. And like now I give him like months off, like a month, and then I'll call him and be like, what's up? And he'll be like, yo, I miss you. Like, and I really appreciate you hearing me that like, sometimes, cause he be going through stuff too, right? Like I have to understand that. And even him just seeing that, like, even though I want to talk to you all the time, like I hear you, I see you, I'm giving you this, I talk to you monthly. Then he ended up calling me more when he needs me. That's acknowledgement.
So you can have, is it the same conversation or are there positive conversations when you're having them, or what do you mean?
They're great conversations. It's regular. The point of it all is that this is an example of how I acknowledge him. He goes through a lot. He needed time. He was thinking about things. And I knew that me calling him so much wouldn't allow him the time and space for the things that he was dealing with as a man, as a New York man at that, who doesn't share what's going on, but I know him so well, like I can hear when something is going on. And I'm like, I hear you, acknowledge you, I'm gonna give you your space. And then he acknowledged me back by saying like, I seen what you did and I really needed that and thank you. Like, it don't have to be, every day, like, I saw you. Just acknowledgement and like less critique all the time, because I'm out here doing my best all the time.
May I also add, kind of building off the point, something my sisters taught me about love is that, like the misconception is that you have to love yourself to love someone else. But I think the best measure to love somebody, especially if we're like framing it around love and like that interpersonal kind of relationship, like loving yourself is also like continuing to work on yourself. Like you may not be necessarily 100%, but you're still worthy. You know what I mean? Like everyone's deserving of some kind of empathetic good. You know what I mean? Like I think so. I think everyone's deserving of love. Everyone's deserving of like happiness, even outside of whether or not they're all good or like they've completed their journey. Because even though, like for example, before you learned at age 33, you were still worthy of love, even though you didn't know what your love language or how what the language behind it meant, or even me. When I was 17, I was doing all types of dumb stuff to women. To men, you know what I mean? To not the same ways, but you know what I mean? Like it was a lot of I want to say manipulation, but it was just like even manipulating myself to make it okay. Ghosting, now like little stuff like that, where it's just a lack of emotional intelligence to set a boundary. The only one's responsibility to set a boundary is your own, because that's the only thing you can technically control. You know what I mean? Because no one is guaranteed your time, not even my mama. You know what I mean? Like my mama didn't. She didn't owe me her time. She just got off work. She's dealing with white people and the whole day. You know what I mean? Like whole day, of course, all damn day. I would want to come home and smoke too. No, but let's make it macro. But I think kind of going back to that point of like I don't think you have to be completely there, but it's kind of always back to that boundary and capacity work to figuring out how your communication with that individual and within that relationship works best towards what their love language is. You know, we all have different love languages. I can't approach you with the same energy I would approach Maud based on the experiences that you two separate people would have growing up and being socialized into what love and relationships mean, or what, you know, what those mean. Sorry, I feel like that kind of spilled off, but yeah.
But I also think that it doesn't have to be either or. You know what I mean? Like, you can be working on self-love and loving other people at the same time. I also think that like self-love, for me at least, has been a journey that looks more like this than just like this. So there's moments when I can find it to pour into myself the way that you talked about, and there's other times where I just simply cannot. And in those times, I have felt in the past very slighted by my friends, and very slighted by men that I've been dating. But I'm learning now to really be able to say, like, I am not in a good space right now, and I am struggling to truly love myself and pour into myself, so that, you know, if I can't make it to something, like, you know why I wanted to be there. And I'm still celebrating you, but I maybe just couldn't celebrate the way you needed me to right then. And it's no love lost. It's just, you know, it's not an either or thing. You can pour into yourself and to other people, but it can't be off balance either, because that causes problems as well.
I think it has a lot to do with, instead of having people that you want to love you or do things in ways that you want to, I think it's more so, for me, has been finding people who just want to do that, and not me having to contort or push or pull. The people that get it, and the people who don't. Like Lynn said, it's like no love lost, but those are just not my people. And I feel like there's a want when you meet people. When I meet people and I'm like, oh God, I love them, we hitting on all cylinders. For them, I want them to respond or react or engage with me in the ways that I want them to. But if they're not going to, I think it's unfair for me to be upset with them, for me to be like, wow, you're not loving me or respecting me in the ways that I do. And there can be accountability in that person saying, you're right, I understand what you're saying, like, you're absolutely right, I'm not doing these things, but also not making it so that I'm not doing these things, but you're still doing these things, and kind of just having a separation of, this is what I want, this is what I want. We're not meeting in the middle, and letting that be okay. And then me finding people who just get it, who kind of just have an understanding of what it is that I want and need. I think for me personally, I used to be such a shapeshifter. Like my mom, like, oh, you like jazz? Shit, I like jazz too. Come on, let's snap it up. Oh, you like Rocky Road ice cream? So do I. Let's go get, like, I used to be such a shapeshifter. And when I used to shapeshift, people loved that. They were like, oh yeah, you know? But as soon as I would be like, oh, this is my real form right here. This is how I am every day. People would be like, oh, no, I'm not fucking with that. Like, that's not what I want. And so it would make me be angry at them, but I had to also realize that they didn't get to know me. They don't know anything about me because I was just being what they wanted. And so when I just found people I didn't have to shapeshift with, and when I meet them, I'm like, this is me. And they're like, that's cool, let's go, let's do this. It makes me feel way more celebrated and understood than having to, like, have this breakdown and understanding with someone who's not speaking the same language as me. And when you're not speaking the same language as someone, you're just not speaking the same language as them. And you could put in that time and effort to get to this point where you do, but both parties have to actively want to do so. So for me, it has been, there's some people I've had to do that with, like my sister. And that was out of a genuine want, because this is my sister and I want this relationship. Like, I had to learn how to speak her language. But there's some people where I'm just like, we speak different languages. I respect your language, respect mine, and we don't have to continue to try to do so.
But that also goes back to making sure that you know yourself well enough. Because a lot of us don't even know our love language. You know what I mean? A lot of us don't know what kind of attachment theories, what kind of attachment issues we have, abandonment issues. We don't know what we have exactly if you don't know yourself. And I think a lot of times we don't get to know ourselves because we are often shape-shifting. I mean, to be completely 100 with you guys, me being in quarantine allowed me to be my authentic self. I was in work. I've been working since I was 14. So a lot of that code switching thing has become a lot of my normal behavior patterns. So a lot of times when you get the time to yourself and you get to understand exactly who you are, it changes a lot of your perspective on things. The love language thing is like, even if it's not even in an intimate setting or interpersonal relationship, it could just be friends. Your friends are just as important as your relationship. To know yourself enough so like if somebody just doesn't align with your boundaries, you can tell somebody, I don't appreciate that. And you don't have to do the arguing back and forth or the debating because you know what you want. And if they don't meet your language, you can cut them off. But if you don't know yourself, you're going to still be trying to have that person be exactly what you want, but they never were. That's not their love language. So that would be a message for kids too.
I don't know if I agree and then I disagree.
Yeah.
Like, I agree that people should always feel comfortable being who they are. But I think, and then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I look at some of my friendships back at home, and these are my sisters, right? Like, we were born at the same time, we went to the same daycare, we grew up together. And when I turned 18, we were very mean to each other. When I turned 18, I went to school, and I met friends, and I was like, wow, y'all are not mean? Like, is this normal? What is weird? And they were like vegan. It was like, I don't know what galaxy this is, but okay. And me and my friends, we had like a push and pull, because I came back home, I'm like, yo, like, we need to be different, because this is wild. And even with me, like, I'm the most sensitive of my friends, and that was hard for them because they were not sensitive at all. So they would be saying things, I'd be like, yo, you gotta relax, and they just, it was all of these things. Like, we were very close, sisterly bond. They at my grandmother's house more than I am, checking up on her. But we had to learn how to communicate with each other that wasn't toxic. And that was, and understanding that, like, that and the importance of the love and the sisterhood between us, like, the things that we go through now together is, like, praise the Lord that I have them in my life. And that we are, like, we done lost parents. We done lost, like, babies is sick. We done, seen the worst. We've been in hospitals for each other. And the way that, like, I just heard them say, like, Taylor, I need this from you. And I said, I need this from you. And we are still the same person. But that to me is like true friendship and true sistership and true love. And even my guy friend, my guy best friend, the same thing. Like, his natural self he's a debater. He likes to argue even if he agrees with you. And that would make me so sick. We would have arguments until I'm literally about to kill him. And we cursing each other out. And I'm blocking him off everything, and he's emailing me. But, like, then you'll talk about it. You'll be like, oh, well, my natural self is a debater. I actually agree with you. And it'd be like, you literally just took me, get the Uzi. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he knew that, you know what I'm saying? So, like, he doesn't do that with me as much. And so I almost feel like this generation, there's like a level of like selfishness where, like, where it's like, well, if that's not me, or if this is this, and but my natural self, I'm not a shapeshifter, but my natural self is genuinely to make sure that other people are good. So people can say, oh, Taylor, don't do that. But that's just who I am naturally. People asking me not to do that is asking me not to be myself. And the only thing that I ask is, like, people just meet me halfway. If they can't, they can't. It is what it is. But almost I hear these things, and it feels like nobody's gonna be able to get and give the love in a way where, like, in my eyes that I see it. Because if me and my sisters at home, me and my best friends, were able to do that, and now our relationship is great because they heard me, like, you stepping on my toe, and I was like, oh shit, my bad.
But
like,
the difference between people with personality issues, those are personalities though. Like, that's how his debating style is not a love language. That's his personality. So yeah, your personality I can kind of deal with. But if you're not loving me the way I need to be loved, or you're like, if you like affirmations and every time I'm talking to you I'm telling you negative things about yourself, That's not a personality thing.
But that goes to how we were with my friends. I told you, me and my friends were very rude and nasty and mean to each other. We loved each other, we was with each other every day. But the way that I wanted to be loved and my level of sensitivity, and even like they would make fun of I would travel. They'd be like, you gonna, they would joke on me so hard because I like traveled. Like it was, I couldn't do anything. Like, you're like, yo, give me a break.
I feel like what you're saying too, I agree with you in the sense that like, it is very hard. Like, I'm learning to be more patient with people as a way of showing up for them and celebrating them. So when I first learned my love languages and started advocating for myself more, I think I was very much the person that was like, oh, I don't like that. I'm not dealing with that. And I would like cut people off. But I'm learning now that if I really truly like love people and show up for them, then I do give them those second chances to hear and be heard as well. And just because we have like a tiff or because you didn't love me the right way 10 times doesn't mean that you won't hear me every time I say it, and try to be responsive. And if you do that, like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because we're all learning, we're all overcoming things, and I feel like I understand that. But what I won't deal with from friends and from like men that I'm dating is somebody who is dismissive when I try to tell them my feelings. Like, I think that the communication, to go back to that, is really important, because once you start knowing yourself and saying what you need people who are also gonna like listen to you and truly allow you to be heard.
And I think the want is the key component there. If there's a want here and a want there, then you can go anywhere. But if I don't want to and you want to, we can't go anywhere. So I think that's kind of like what it comes down to. It's like, if we can't force people to want to engage with us in the ways that they want to. And that's when I feel like it's a time for you to be like, we're not speaking the same language, and I don't want to. I don't care. Like, maybe that person doesn't care what language you're speaking. So when it comes to that point, I think, as a part of what Marquis said, as a person who is understanding, knowing, and loving themselves, if I don't want to, for whatever reason, sometimes it may be a good reason, sometimes I may just be stubborn, I think that it's better for me to let that person know and disengage than to keep trying to engage, because that's the key component to me. When two people want to speak the same language, they will. But if there's a person who doesn't want to or is not willing to put in the work to, then that's where you have to disengage.
And I think that's okay, so long as you're not hurting that person or putting that person in a situation where they still have work to do and they're getting the short end of the stick continuously. And they have no choice but to do certain things.
Yeah, and I think some of the things that I keep in mind that try to, I guess, dissuade some of the shadow sides of knowing yourself, or some of these other definitive terms, is recognizing that as men, again, going to this goalpost or this process, this end goal, we tend to put a stake in the ground and say, this is it, and this is where we're going, and this is my target, and this is where I'm going to, and I know myself, and we ain't going anywhere from this place. But the reality is, it's a process, and if you don't allow yourself the humility to show up to a situation and receive it as if it's the first time, every time, you don't allow yourself the room and opportunity to grow and change and evolve, and you don't allow other people the room to impact your growth and your evolution. And so I think we talk about goalposts, and it's tricky business because we're continuously trying to go to the next level. And as we talked about it before, generationally, we're trying to pass the baton so that the next generation just goes a little bit farther.
I was going to ask a question for Taylor. It's just for you. It seems like you give a lot, right? And so I'm not sure, I can't speak for all the men here, but I'm gonna say for myself, like I'm really good with my boundaries. Like, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. I'm not superseding, I'm not exhausting myself, and I'm not gonna be emotionally torn down for anybody else outside of myself. And it seems like you do that a lot. And I know a lot of women do that. I think that's why a lot of women carry a lot of burdens and stuff of that nature. But men, we're not gonna carry that burden. Do you think that could be do you think that's a positive that you care so much, or do you think it's everything? Because I care a lot, but I don't care enough to where it's going to affect me long term, or in any capacity that's going to supersede this moment. So you heard my feelings today. I'm not going to be hurt about that for 10 years or 5 years. It won't affect me the same. I think most of the things are like sticking with women. Like I think more of the traumatic experiences stick with women in a different way, emotionally rather.
On a larger scale, on a community front, because I get this question a lot. Can you imagine where we would be if your favorite martyr said the same thing? We wouldn't be able to talk about how we enjoy capacity, be incapacitated. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm sure people gave your favorite martyr, your favorite leader from the past that same conversation. And where would we have been? And so for me, like, I'm not comparing myself to any leader in the past. Like, I am me. But I know that there's things in this world that I want to change, that I want to see better for my kids, for my people, past, present, and future. And that's just my burden that I bear. Like, I take that on. Like, it is what it is. Like, because if all of us are talking about, like, selfishly in my capacity and all of these things, and I'm self-love, then things are not going to be better for our kids. How? How, if there's not somebody fighting open art, full, like, take all of me? Like, because I know that it's going to be beneficial for somebody. And oftentimes, even in this present day, and I know for sure of this, it's often beneficial to my friends around me. I'm over here exhausting myself just so I can have two people meet, and for them to conquer their dreams, for people to have a space and they could be happy. So I already see it, and that's what I want. So personally, I don't want to give myself the option to be selfish, because I just consider those things way more important, right? If not me, then who? If everybody else is too, in their own, everybody got problems.
Yeah.
On the smaller level, yeah, like seriously, I truly feel that way. So it's the burden that I bear. It doesn't mean that I get frustrated when I bump into those, roadblocks. But I think when it comes to personally one-on-one, like, I am now learning, again, how to also, like, not care personally if someone is for whatever reason not able to be whoever. And it takes a lot. Like, the person who I talked about on my one-on-one, in the beginning I was very hurt because I don't like losing friends. And it was a man, like, you know what I mean? And men have a way of being very abrasive. I say this all the time, and it always comes true, whether it's physically or emotionally. It's like, rip this Band-Aid off. I even told him, and he's like, I don't believe, like, and he just waxed me. But, I'm slowly able to, like, really just, like, pretend and erase people out of my life in certain capacities. Though I will always be present when they need me, because that's just who I am. And internally, I have to fight with that because it's a loveless life, but it's always on the benefit of everybody else around me, small and large, present and future.
Would you consider yourself an empath or a healer?
Do I be healing? I don't know if anybody's ever been around me and was like, I've been healed. But I know people have been around me and been like, I had a good time, I felt heard, or like, like I feel inspired. I feel like I can do something that I would love to do. I'm just here to activate people's wildest dreams.
I just wanted to say, like, because you said you couldn't be selfish. You can be selfish and still do the work. You don't have to be so emotionally involved with every single, like, I was talking to my sister about it, and we were talking about kind of deep, but it's the police brutality situation. It was so many, we were talking about this too. It was so many occasions happening in one day. There was so many murders and so many cases that were happening. I can't focus on every single case. And I used to feel guilty for not being able to talk. I wasn't doing Breonna Taylor, but I was doing Stephon Clark. I wasn't doing Oscar Grant, but I was doing Mike Brown, and I was feeling guilty because I wasn't putting every single name on that list. And it felt guilty. And I was like, I don't have to feel guilty because I'm still doing the work. I just don't have to be emotionally involved in every single area. I may have to focus on one thing today. I may have to focus on just being happy today. You know what I mean? Because I'm still a vessel and I should still be happy. I should still have the opportunity to be excited, to enjoy things too. You don't have to always be focused on I don't have to be focused on everything that's going on. Like it's okay for you to have an off day is what I'm getting at essentially.
I think also too, I'm a teacher, so like a lot of my job is caregiving. I'm a pre-K kindergarten teacher, and I think being a leader takes a level of taking care of yourself that is not selfish. Like part of your belonging in a community, it's very powerful to belong to people, and part of your belonging is taking care of yourself enough that you can tell other people how to take care of you. And I notice like with my students, I can't be as patient as they need me to be if I am not taking care of myself, because I am overflowing and I might get to a point where I have a meltdown or where I say something that is gonna scar them or change the way that they think about our relationship if I'm not careful. So I really do have to take a step back and be in solitude sometimes, or do whatever it is I need to do to take care of myself so that I can give all of that energy back to my community.
Yes, and I don't think that's selfish. I think pouring from your cup that's overflowing is the opposite of selfish. I think you borderline selfishness when you're doing things that only serve you, right? And when you serve yourself so that you can serve others, I think that's the intent.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys, Jacob touched on this a little bit earlier about, wanting generations behind us or people in our families, communities who are younger than us to kind of come to a state of understanding self in the world sooner. So I want to ask you guys, what is something a caveat from your life or something that you've learned that you really want to pass on to maybe your children, maybe Lynn's children, maybe Taylor's children? What do you want to tell them so that they can have this aha moment that a lot of us as millennials in this generation are coming to? I feel like in our late teens, early 20s, so they can have that when they're 10, 11, 13, and not have to wade through the water like we did.
I feel like my children are gonna be so loved because y'all keep talking about them and they're not even here yet. But I think going back to being a teacher, what I've noticed from working with kids so young, 4 years old is the age that we become like conscious of self. And there's a theory that the more we become conscious of our own being, the less we become ourselves, because we start to think about other people and the way that they perceive us. And so something I've been realizing is that a lot of us have everything we need inside of us from the time we're born. And the way that my students show up at 4 years old is so authentic, it's so raw, it's also so compassionate and so caring, so joyful and optimistic about the world. And then as they get older, they start to lose that. So I feel like something that I would really want for my children is to protect that authentic self and really start affirming and having conversations about pleasure and what it means to be a friend with someone, what it means to be just themselves in the world, and really ensuring that they understand and have the language to communicate with other people through my modeling of that. Because they'll learn more from what they see me doing than what they hear me say and do. And yeah, I just want them to know that they are abundant and to really live in their own abundance.
Y'all can go first. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Let me active listen to you, Jason.
So I do want to have kids too. So
Yeah. So your kids gonna be taken care of too. Okay.
Knock on metal. You feel me? But in a very similar light, I want them to, definitely stand in their abundance. But something that I definitely want to incorporate that I think that I lacked was more positive examples for what could be. You know what I mean? Like I had a lot, but it was especially when it came to interpersonal relationships. Like I want to see more. I want to give my kids more of a variety of perspectives of the range of emotions one can feel, not just within relationship, like mom and dad, or like dad and his uncle, or I want them to have understanding of themselves in the grander scheme as well. Like really. I keep saying capacity. I don't want to say capacity, but like exactly. And
We're gonna get a sign.
I definitely think that selflessness is an important trait to instill, because I don't want my kids to be selfish. I was a selfish brat, you know what I mean? And I think it helped me to be a good capitalist. I think it helped me to get my first job, because I was like, I want what I want, and you know what I mean? Like, just give me it, you know what I mean? And in a very similar way as a goalpost, like that same thinking, those thinkings combined made me good at rugby, and in sports, and like very, very, set and defined things. But life is not set and defined. So I think continuing to highlight the variety and the complexity that one holds as an empathetic being. It's a lot of words, and I'm gonna explain it in a children's book to my kid before they 4. You feel me? Like I'm just gonna throw that all in there if I could. But yeah.
You got any money? Want me to go?
I've been really thinking about this. I don't want kids. I don't even like kids. But I'm also very active in the development of like my nieces, my nephews, even neighborhood kids, they friends and things like that. Like during the school year, I always be like, okay, one day this month, Nyari, my niece, I'm like, you can get 2 friends, we'll go somewhere, we'll do whatever y'all want. And it'd be the most stressful 4 or 5 hours of my life, because I'm just like, I don't know, y'all just running around and y'all running me, who's in charge here? But one thing I really try to instill in her is to understand the things you want and don't want in the world, and finding the language to express that. I feel like as a kid, I couldn't say no to anything. I couldn't be like, I don't even like this. It could be like, my mama could boil some lima beans, put no seasoning on it, mash it up, put it on a plate. And I'm like, yo, I don't like this, or I want to add salt to this. You eat it how I gave it to you. Like, that's what my grandpa would always say. You couldn't make a breakfast sandwich even if you made biscuits and sausage and eggs. You couldn't put them in a sandwich. You eat it how I gave it to you. And I feel like, but why? Like, I don't understand. Why can't I just be like, I would like salt and pepper on my lima beans? So when I speak to her, I always give her options and like let her have choice. And not so that she's like running me, like, oh, I'm not eating this. I'm more so of like, okay, well, this is what's for lunch. We having burgers for lunch. She's like, cheese on your burger. You want mayonnaise, mustard? Instead of just giving her a burger with whatever she wants on it, with whatever I put on it. So definitely just being able to explore what you want and don't want, what you like and don't like, and being able to have the autonomy to say, hey, could I have this, or I prefer these things, so that even though me and her are speaking in grilled cheeses and hamburgers, when she gets older, when she's 12 and it's like, oh, it's pizza here, but it's also enchiladas, she's like, oh, I would prefer an enchilada instead of just eating whatever someone offers her. And I think that kind of goes off into life of not just accepting what people give you and having the space to say, that's not what I don't like these things, or I would prefer it this way. And also knowing when to do that, because I'd be like, don't be talking crazy to your mama now, because I don't want her to think that I'm just letting you do whatever. But I think it just really goes to that sense of self, that sense of understanding of like, I do like these things, so that she can have a personality and know who she is and know what it is that she wants to welcome into her life and what she doesn't want to be in her life.
I don't know why we keep agreeing with each other. So I don't want no kids either. So. No, it's so. I told you this quarantine is just hadn't changed the man. I will say to listen to your uncle, your bougie uncle. You have the right to change your mind. I think we have to be mindful of that too. A lot of the behaviors that we're taught, we kind of feel like we're stuck with. Same thing as like if you're taught to just eat pizza, then you're only eating pizza. You may not even like pizza like that. You may be lactose intolerant. Being able to change your mind is a real important thing. I think it took a long time for me to realize that I can change my mind. I could say today, I don't want kids. In 6 years, I'm like, I want kids now. I don't have to, I'm not a prison to my initial thought. And I think when you're growing up, we do that a lot. Whenever your parents told you, you got to go to college, your ass went to college. You never changed your mind. Like, actually, I want to go to barber school. Actually, I want to be an entrepreneur. Actually, I really don't even want to go to school at all. I really want to drop out today, but just because I have to go, I'm gonna go. And it's like, we have to break that habit as we get older. My niece and nephew, I got those. Y'all should do that and listen to what I'm telling you, because it'll save you a lot of time.
Are you telling them not to have kids?
I'm telling you not to go to college if you don't want to. At this point, we don't know. College is such an option at this point. Like, it ain't even really. Yes, you have the choice to choose. So right now, college is not an option, but it may change. And if you decide, you're 27, like, I want to go to college, take your ass to college. But do it because you want to do it. That's a part of knowing yourself and loving yourself. You will be able to make a lot more decisions based on what you want and not so much of what Bond wants.
I'm not even gonna tell you.
Don't tell me. Just tell me.
I'm not even gonna tell you.
What Lynn wants.
What Lynn wants. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Maud, for Lynn's name.
Oh, damn.
Sorry, but thank you. But yes, just call me Hunt. Just call me Hunt. It's okay. But yes, just making sure you can change your mind and understand that is an option, and you're not stuck to what you initially went with. So.
I think I'm going to go with my 2 words, curiosity and humility. I think I would encourage people to be boldly humble enough to show up to, or to try to show up to every situation as if though it was the first time, and allow it to go differently. And boldly curious enough to show up with a willingness to die to your past self so that you might live a new life the next time.
Okay, metamorphosis. All right, I went from caterpillar to butterfly.
We're running this back.
Yeah, I want my kids to know, and this is everything that, I think even subconsciously as a kid, I've been fighting for, is for them to be able to feel comfortable and confident pursuing their wildest dreams. And even like us on this show, we have a production crew. They decide that we want to film shit, and we are going to invest all the shmoneys and go out and film. Each of us are entrepreneurs in our own right. And it's so crazy because, like you said, like unconventional things are pushed onto us a lot. And you could just be like dying on the inside, and but you just really want to do that one thing. And it's crazy because the playing field is so open for people to be creative and be successful right now. I've been saying, like, my tagline, if you want to draw, so that the creators of Frozen, or, there's a million streaming platforms, they're all fighting for content. Like, if you want to be a director, if you want to this, that, and the third, like, this space is open. You can go on tour with 10,000 followers now. Like, you can do these things. I just want my babies to be happy and to be able to fully embrace those things, and for me to be able to financially support them in these things. And not only just financially, as a new entrepreneur, I'm learning so much for the first time, and it's a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? From logistics to admin to legal to blah to handling everything at once. I want to be able to teach my kid that, so they not struggling and looking all over and spinning around and getting depressed because it's all so much, just the logistics of it all, that they can't even focus on the creative or the financial piece or the, all those things. Like, I want to take that away, and for them to just be able to, like, fly on the shit that they love to do. Be in inspiring spaces with inspiring people doing your inspiring shit. Oh, you know what I mean? It's gonna be the Crenshaw hyphen whoever their daddy is privilege. So that's important to me.
May I also add that I mean,
Brown Crenshaw. So it's gonna be Brown Crenshaw.
it's not
they
really an
daddy.
ending thought, but I wish that I was taught more ideas of discipline as a kid. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, especially right now, like with quarantine, it's like you're probably spending more time in the house. And if I had more discipline, I would, like, in my head, I feel like I'll be able to process change easier. And I feel like a lot of things that mess people up in their life course is when change occurs and then you kind of bump up against it. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, seriously.
You're in my mind right now.
Seriously though, like
That was me yesterday.
that's what I'm saying. Like, but like my most toxic moments in life have been at major transitions. You know what I mean? And like not just as a man, like not just as a black person, but in all forms of myself, it's always at that moment of tension where I feel like it's a fight or flight. And it really is. And I think like I talked about earlier, like I feel like everyone's on survival mode, whether we want to talk about it or not. And you know, in different degrees, because we all operate within our own, you know, spectrums of on that survival, you know what I mean, or of in that survival mode. And I feel like if my parents could teach me, I would have loved it. I don't know if it's like a secret book somewhere hidden away that only some people get, but I definitely feel like I'm not the only one that deals with it, which is why like I bring it up. But I wish like more discipline was taught, not just around like the moral get to the goal code, because I think that was like, you're a man, therefore you got to do this. You're a man, you know, your goal is to go find a woman. Your goal is to, you know, do this. That's not discipline. That's like, once you get there, you're kind of done, you know, and they don't tell you about the work that really goes into being a husband, or the work that goes into being a boyfriend, or just a son of, you know, like, you know, like that discipline is that, like, that's the thing, finding the motivation outside of just the one singular goal. I think that would move us forward as well. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, because nobody told me none of this stuff was gonna be this hard. I thought I just wanted to drink and cuss. That was it. All this other stuff.
Drink, drive, and cuss.
That's it.
I just wanted to drink, drive, and cuss.
Maybe go to the club. Maybe. I didn't even think I even wanted to smoke weed yet. Like, I don't even think that was a thought.
Yeah, weed was not a big thing.
Yeah. Len, you want to add something to add to this?
Well, I was just gonna say, that something I've been thinking a lot about is like the archetypes that we place on people. So like, someone could tell you how to be a good husband, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be a good husband to your wife. And like, that's something that I'm learning very intimately right now, is that my whole life I've been taught that a wife is supposed to do X, Y, Z, and now I'm married and I don't want to do none of that shit. And like,
Contract assigned.
I didn't agree to that, okay? And my husband didn't either. And I really appreciate my husband because he is very, very conscious of my pleasure in our like just relationship in general, and the way that he shows up for me when other people put expectations on me as his wife. Is really like, that's like why I married him, you know, like in his vows, he said, I will never like try to make you smaller than you are. I will always support you traveling. I will always support you being an adventurer, and I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure that you can continue to be that. And it's been other people that have been like, oh, well, you know, when you have them kids, you got to stop doing this. And now that you have a husband, you got to do this, that, the other. And I've really struggled to find, happiness in marriage, not being married to him, but figuring out what does it mean for me to be a good wife to this person that is my husband, and not just in general. And so I think the more that we can start to deconstruct some of those roles as well, and really think about people and center them, the better off like the next generation will be as well.
I think with all of that, we gonna put this all in a box.
So
Ah.